I was there. So I was one of the dudes throwing bottles at them.
So there was a fight between Terror Squad and
yeah, it was a situation. It was a situation where one of the Terror Squad associates had hired Jay-Z to come and do a show at Carbon's. For some reason, Jay-Z ended up welching, not coming out, or saying, yo, it's too little for money. The Terror Squad associate started arguing with Memphis Bleek and them, whatever.
In late 90s New York, inside Manhattan's notorious Club Carbon, a moment of chaos sparked a legend. Witnesses say Big Pun, Bronx giant and Terror Squad powerhouse, smashed a champagne bottle over Jay-Z's head, setting off a wild fight involving up to 80 men. The clash, buried in whispers and rap lore, hinted at deeper tensions between Rockefeller and Terror Squad.
Because at the end of the day, it was never personal. Yeah. It was more jealousy towards Jay. It wasn't even real, where, they had a situation, Jay did him dirty, nothing.
What really happened that night? And why does this story still haunt hip-hop history? Let's go back to where it all exploded. Chapter 1. What went down at Carbon nightclub, New York City? In the late 1990s, New York City was the center of hip-hop. Nightclubs weren't just for partying, they were places where power was shown, reputations were made, and rivalries played out. One of the most talked about clubs during that time was Club Carbon, a high-end spot in Manhattan. It was known for its flashy design, strong security, and elite guest list. On any given night, you could find famous rappers, record label bosses, athletes, and street figures in the same room. According to several sources and interviews with people who were around during that time, Carbon was where a serious incident took place between two major rap crews: Terror Squad, led by Big Pun and Fat Joe, and Rockefeller Records, led by Jay-Z and Dame Dash.
I was there. So I was one of the dudes throwing bottles at them.
The exact date isn't clear, but it likely happened in 1998 and early 1999. During that time, both crews were at the top of their game. Jay-Z had just dropped Volume 2, Hard Knock Life, which was a huge success. Big Pun released Capital Punishment, becoming the first Latino rapper to sell over 1 million records. Both crews were making moves in the music industry and among fans. There had been tension leading up to the night at Carbon. Jay-Z had released a song that many believed was aimed at Fat Joe, though he never confirmed it. Even though nothing was said directly, in rap, subtle shots were often taken seriously. That kind of energy could easily lead to a real-life confrontation. On that night at Club Carbon, both crews showed up. Security was tight, but so was the atmosphere. The room was heavy with ego and reputation. According to the most widely told version of the story, something triggered a face-off, and in the middle of it, Big Pun allegedly smashed a champagne bottle over Jay-Z's head. What followed was chaos. Some say up to 80 people got caught up in a massive fight inside the club. However, recent reports and interviews clarify that Jay-Z was likely not present during the actual fight. He had either left early or never showed up due to confusion over whether he was being paid to perform or just make an appearance. His absence reportedly angered members of Terror Squad. There's another account that Jay-Z was absent at the Carbon event, though he was paid $15,000 for an appearance, not a performance, which led to confusion. When he didn't show up, a Terror Squad member reportedly confronted Memphis Bleek. Tensions exploded when someone from the Rockefeller side struck the Terror Squad associate with a champagne bottle, sparking a massive brawl. Big Pun allegedly escalated things by pulling a blade. But even now, the story isn't fully clear. Some say it was exaggerated, others believe it was even worse than reported. What we do know is this: the Carbon nightclub incident has never been forgotten. It's become part of hip-hop history, one of those stories whispered in barbershops, repeated in interviews, and debated in online forums.
There's supposedly a line that Nas said, that he said, "Call yourself a gangster, but you were begging for pardon that night in Carbon when Terror Squad flipped on your squadron. Try to front on their checks till Pun put a gun to your chest."
What really happened that night? Why were those crews so close to war? And how did it all begin and end in just a few violent minutes? Let's go back to where it all exploded. Chapter 2. Why would Big Pun attack Jay-Z? To understand why Big Pun might have attacked Jay-Z, we need to look at the deeper tension between their crews, Terror Squad and Rockefeller Records. They weren't officially at war, but both were competing for power in the New York rap scene. Jay-Z had just reached a new level of success. His 1998 album, Volume 2, Hard Knock Life, was a major hit. He was seen as the king of slick, street-smart rap, a Brooklyn hustler who had the music industry's attention. Big Pun from the Bronx had his own rise. In 1998, his album Capital Punishment made history. He became the first Latino solo rapper to go platinum. He was lyrical, raw, and respected both in the streets and the studio. By 1999, he wasn't just a rapper, he was a Bronx icon. While there was no direct beef on record, tension between the two crews was brewing. A key link may be lyrics. On Jay-Z's 1999 track, Come and Get Me, he raps, "Don't do it cause if you try to stunt, your gun's drawn, I blow you to bits." Some listeners believe Jay-Z was subtly warning other rising MCs, not naming names, but sending a message. In the 1990s, that kind of coded language was enough to cause real drama. Big Pun may have fired back in his own way. In the song Watch Those, Pun spits, "Champagne on the rocks, force the Fort Knox, Lazarus shark salad with carrots, pork chops, and applesauce." At first, it sounds like typical Pun wordplay, but some fans think the "Champagne on the rocks" line was more than clever rapping. It could be a reference to the Carbon incident, where he allegedly hit Jay-Z with a champagne bottle. If that's true, it means Pun turned a real event into a cryptic lyric, mocking the moment without naming names. Whether it was a direct diss or just a coincidence, that lyric kept the rumors alive. The truth? There may never be a full confirmation, but the way both artists used coded bars and sharp lyrics shows how much weight words carried and how they could lead to real consequences in the world in which they exist. Chapter 3. The Aftermath. Jay-Z kept quiet. If the confrontation between Big Pun and Jay-Z at Club Carbon really happened, Jay-Z never addressed it publicly. No diss records followed, no interviews or official statements were made. He remained silent. In 1999, Jay-Z was focused on solidifying his commercial dominance. His album, Volume 3, Life and Times of S. Carter, dropped in December of that year and debuted at #1 on the Billboard 200. He was also expanding Rockefeller Records, launching Rockaware, and working on business partnerships that would push him into executive territory. Meanwhile, Big Pun was affiliated with Terror Squad, a crew that included Fat Joe, Cuban Link, Armageddon, and street figures like Pistol Pete. Pete had been indicted in 1998 for his alleged role in violent criminal activities in the Bronx. His reputation was well known and often cited in rap circles. Sauce Money would confirm this on a podcast with Gully TV in 2019. Pun was a monster. Lyrically, like Pun was really, he could really do it, you know what I mean?
Yeah, Pun was a monster lyrically. Like Pun was really, he could really do it. You know what I mean?
Jay-Z's Rockefeller camp at the time included artists like Memphis Bleek and Beanie Siegel, but there is no public record or interview confirming any official retaliation or statement from anyone in the Rock camp regarding Big Pun or Terror Squad, though there was speculation that Sauce Money had at some point dissed the Terror Squad.
We did some crazy
Right, because I guess Sauce Money, who was part of Jay-Z's camp, had done a song dissing y'all?
I don't know the whole...
Or something like that?
I don't know the whole thing about it, but I know, you know, the whole kid situation was a Big Pun extravaganza.
Jay-Z continued to release music and did not reference the incident in any lyrics. No criminal charges were filed in connection to the Carbon incident, and no eyewitness accounts were officially documented by authorities or press. The incident remained unconfirmed in the mainstream, only referenced in interviews, forums, and lyrics by other artists. Chapter 4. Who else was there? The night of the Carbon nightclub incident remains one of the most talked about yet undocumented events in hip-hop history. No official video footage from inside the club has ever emerged, and neither camp, Rockefeller or Terror Squad, has ever issued a public statement confirming or denying the alleged confrontation. Still, over the years, accounts from insiders and media personalities have pointed to a consistent list of individuals believed to have been present that night. Fat Joe, as Big Pun's closest ally and the founder of Terror Squad, Fat Joe was almost always by Pun's side during public appearances. Joe himself has acknowledged being present during many of Pun's club outings, especially in the late 90s when Capital Punishment success placed Pun at the top of the New York rap scene.
Pun was the little brother I never had, and I was the big brother he never had, you know what I'm saying?
Cuban Link, a founding member of Terror Squad. Cuban Link was frequently seen with Pun and Joe during that period. While he would later fall out with Fat Joe over business and personal disagreements, in the late 90s he was still part of the core group surrounding Pun. Pistol Pete. Known on the streets of the Bronx as a powerful enforcer, Pistol Pete was associated with Terror Squad during their rise.
I come through and I might have 15 guys with me, you feel me? But it's just me, I'm just TS, you feel me? But I got a bunch of, you know what I'm saying?
Oh, for sure. You from TS, but you show up with 20 of the homeboys, they gonna be automatically figured out as TS members too.
He was mentioned in numerous rap lyrics and interviews as someone whose reputation for violence preceded him. In 1998, Pete was indicted on charges related to drug trafficking and murder. He was eventually sentenced to life in prison due to his strong presence in the Bronx rap underworld. Pistol Pete on a recent video talking about how he was known in NYC and how 50 Cent and others respected or feared him.
Most of the time when I go to places, they be a little extra and all that with it, so I got left back. And I ran into 50 and them and the whole crew and all that. It was all love.
Rockefeller affiliates. Reports have suggested that Jay-Z wasn't alone. Members of his Rockefeller inner circle at the time likely included Memphis Bleek, Beanie Siegel, and possibly other affiliates like Dame Dash, who frequently attended high-profile events with the rock team. While none have publicly confirmed being present, this group was often with Jay during nightlife appearances in the late 90s. One version of the story, shared anonymously by hip-hop forums and referenced in commentary videos, claimed that Carbon nightclub was forced to shut down for the night following the altercation. Multiple guests reportedly sustained injuries during the chaos. However, no police reports or official documentation from the club have ever confirmed this. While Jay-Z has never publicly addressed the incident, several industry insiders have stated in interviews that his relationship with Terror Squad changed after that night. Whether out of respect or strategic avoidance, Jay-Z reportedly stayed clear of further conflict with Pun and his crew from that point onward. No criminal charges were filed and no further altercations between the crews were ever reported in connection to the event. The story lived on in whispers, lyrics, and indirect references, fueling one of New York hip-hop's most legendary street-level moments. Chapter 5. Terror Squad's Violent Reputation. The alleged altercation at Club Carbon wasn't just a random flare-up, it fit a larger pattern. In the late 1990s and early 2000s, Terror Squad was widely seen as one of the most respected and feared crews in East Coast hip-hop. Their dominance extended far beyond music charts. From the Bronx streets to boardrooms and back alleys, the squad moved with weight, both lyrically and physically. Even Tony highlighted Terror Squad's formidable reputation.
What other hip-hop crew had the most militant entourage? I don't mean that you guys got in beef into, but when you see them, it's like, oh, okay,
I would say Fat Joe on them.
Yeah.
Their reputation was built not only on the strength of Capital Punishment or Fat Joe's growing discography, but also on their unflinching street affiliations. Big Pun, in particular, wasn't just respected for his technical skill. He was known to demand respect in real life, and many stories circulated about how he enforced it. 50 Cent, in multiple interviews, spoke about how he was relieved when his beef with Fat Joe cooled down, implying that the tension could have led to dangerous outcomes.
But you and Joe are cool now, though, right? Man, you see how that works?
You know what's crazy is he's one of the guys that you actually want to be friends with.
Yeah, man. Joe. I love Joe.
While no one from Terror Squad was ever directly charged in connection to industry violence, several incidents and street accounts over the years have contributed to the perception that their presence wasn't just lyrical, it was territorial. Multiple members of G Unit, including Lloyd Banks and Tony Yayo, have made references to conflicts in New York nightclubs, street tension, and moments where Terror Squad figures pressed G Unit affiliates in hostile settings. Though not always explicitly named, the insinuations often pointed toward Bronx-based pressure, hinting at a long-standing unspoken understanding. Terror Squad had real clout in New York. One specific example, often cited in forums and podcasts, involves Tony Sunshine, a singer affiliated with Terror Squad, confronting someone from another camp in a Manhattan club, another example of the crew's readiness to back their own high-stakes settings. Moreover, Pistol Pete, a reputed street figure associated with the crew, had already developed a fearsome reputation by the late 90s. He was eventually convicted and sentenced to life in prison, but during the height of Terror Squad's dominance, his name was synonymous with Bronx muscle. The group's intimidation factor was not lost on peers in the industry. Rumors of behind-the-scenes threats, security-tightened events, and post-show confrontations followed them throughout their run, especially during the 1998 to 2004 period. While no direct connection between Terror Squad and the Carbon incident has ever been confirmed in court or in media, the timeline, location, and personalities involved support what many believe, that if an altercation did occur, it wouldn't be out of character for a crew known to handle problems directly and without hesitation. This wasn't an isolated story. It was part of a deeper code of respect, loyalty, and presence that defined Terror Squad's rise in mythos. Chapter 6. Legend or Fact. Did Big Pun really hit Jay-Z with a champagne bottle and fight through a sea of men inside Club Carbon? It's a wild story, but when separating urban legend from documented fact, the waters get murky. First, there are no official police reports, hospital records, or lawsuits tied to any violent confrontation between Jay-Z and Big Pun at the Carbon nightclub. Neither rapper ever acknowledged the event publicly, not in interviews, songs, or memoirs. No news outlet at the time reported a violent altercation at the club involving either artist. However, that silence is what continues to fuel suspicion. Over the years, numerous industry insiders, from DJs to managers to entourage members, have referenced a serious altercation at Club Carbon, one that left a lasting impression on those present. Some versions of the story claim Jay-Z was attacked, while others tone it down to a tense confrontation that almost turned physical. The one recurring motif across most versions is the champagne bottle. That detail resurfaced in Big Pun's lyrics. In the 2000 posthumous release Watch Those, he raps, "Champagne on the rocks, forced at Fort Knox." Some people believe the line was a direct, almost mocking reference to the alleged carbon bottle incident, embedding the weapon of choice into his verse. While this could be a coincidence or pure lyrical flair, fans and hip-hop theorists continue to dissect it. What's most unusual is Jay's complete lack of response. At a time when diss tracks, street interviews, and lyrical retaliation were the norm, Jay's radio silence was interpreted by many as a calculated decision. According to whispers from behind the scenes, high-ranking executives in the music industry may have intervened. The late 90s and early 2000s were a lucrative era for both Rockefeller and Loud/Terror Squad camps. Some believe the key decision-makers in New York's label infrastructure, like Steve Rifkind or Dame Dash, opted to bury the incident quietly. A public beef between Jay-Z and Pun could have destabilized commercial partnerships, endorsements, and even security across the city. Ultimately, no proof exists, but the sheer volume of references, insider confirmations, and lyrical hints suggest that something happened that night, and it was serious enough to never be spoken about openly again. Chapter 7: The Death That Changed Everything.
The popular Latino rapper known as Big Pun has died. His real name was Christopher Rios.
On February 7, 2000, just months after the alleged carbon incident, Big Pun died of heart failure at only 28 years old. Weighing over 600 pounds at the time of his death, Pun has struggled with health issues for years. His death sent shockwaves through the music world. But in the street-level world of New York hip-hop, it may have done something else, stopped a war before it truly began. By early 2000, both Terror Squad and Rockefeller Records were expanding their influence across the 5 boroughs. Had tensions escalated between the two crews, especially involving violent altercations between key figures like Jay-Z and Big Pun, it could have triggered a series of retaliations in clubs, radio stations, and neighborhoods from Harlem to the Bronx. But with Pun's death, the core fire driving that tension vanished. Though Fat Joe carried on the Terror Squad name, his focus shifted towards mainstream success and tribute projects for Pun. The group's aggressive stance appeared to soften. Jay-Z, meanwhile, strengthened his business empire, expanding Rockefeller with artists like Beanie Sigel, Freeway, and Kanye West, eventually becoming president of Def Jam in 2004. Some online theorists and forum posters believe Pun's death cleared the Bronx airspace for Jay-Z, allowing Rockefeller more freedom to operate and sign artists without direct territorial resistance. While there's no documented evidence of this power shift being intentional, the timing was significant. The once feared Bronx-Brooklyn collision course slowly faded into silence. There were no diss tracks, no revenge, no tabloid headlines. Just a sudden absence of tension, like a fire put out by the wind. And in many ways, Big Pun's death marked the end of a volatile chapter that never made it into the public eye but shaped the quiet balance of power in New York hip-hop for years. Today, the Carbon incident lives in whispers. Even if it was just urban legend, the fact it's still referenced today shows the kind of fear and respect Big Pun commanded. He wasn't just a rapper, he was a Bronx titan. Whether you believe he smashed a bottle over Jay-Z's head or not, the story captures a moment in time when hip-hop wasn't just about chart numbers, it was about dominance. And if you were in that Carbon nightclub that night, you witnessed something you'd never forget.